Hello everyone, so I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to a weekly market analysis video in which we will go through gold, we will go through the US indexes, and we will go through Bitcoin as well. We will discuss the current fundamental factors, current sentimental factors, technical factors, and based on them, we will prepare for the upcoming week. So, first of all, starting with gold without any further ado. As I am currently in a position on gold, I will first discuss about gold, the fundamental factors, technical, sentiment, each and everything, and I will prepare you for the upcoming week. So first of all, talking about gold and talking about the higher time frame and the intraday time frame bias, we can see that both the higher time frame or the swing trading and the intraday time frame bias both remains bullish on gold. But due to what? Based on the current fundamental factors, let's discuss about them first. You have tariff uncertainty or the trade war uncertainty, you have geopolitical tensions, you have rate cuts pricing, you have elevated central bank buying, real yields declining, you have again rate cuts pricing, geopolitical tensions, trade war uncertainty. All of them, they are continuing to support gold. At the same time, you have some de-dollarization factors as well, real yields declining, ETF inflows, all of them, the majority of the macro factors, they continue to support more higher prices in gold. About the tariff uncertainty, last week on Friday, the Supreme Court of the United States, they ruled against the Trump tariffs. Now, the detail of the Trump tariffs and all of that ruling is very big, is very detailed. I won't go in all of that details, but I can tell you the conclusion. The conclusion is that the Supreme Court said that some of these Trump tariffs, they are legal, some of them can stay intact, but some of them had to be refunded. Now, this increased the uncertainty in a way that this raised a lot of questions that what Trump will do now. Okay, this raised the question that how the refund process will work. This raised the question that how it will hit the economy. The refund process will hit the economy. Okay, and at the same time, while all of this created some uncertainty, it also created a bit of a positive thing in a sense. You can say that it eased down the inflation fears. Okay, and lower inflation means markets can expect more rate cuts going into the future than they were previously expecting, and all of them, like more rate cuts, uncertainty rising, all of that is a bullish factor for gold. Okay, so this was a cherry on the top which we got on Friday, which acted as a bullish factor for gold, and eventually we saw gold giving us the highest ever weekly nominal close in the history. Okay, and one more thing, something happened over the weekend. On Friday, when the Supreme Court ruled against the Trump tariffs, we got a headlines. Okay, Trump said that after this ruling from the Supreme Court, I am launching a 10% global tariff. And obviously, this again increased the trade war uncertainty, that how it will impact the economies, inflation, and all of that stuff, and how the other countries will retaliate or respond. So, due to this uncertainty, it acted as a positive catalyst for gold, as uncertainty is always bullish for gold. But on the weekend, Trump said that these 10% tariffs, I am increasing their rate from 10% to 15% now. Now we have not yet just gotten the impact of it, obviously, because the markets are closed. But again, as I stated earlier, that uncertainty is always bullish for gold, and here we can see it here as well, that it is acting as a bullish catalyst for gold. Okay, and it can have a little bit of a negative impact on the SPX and on the Nasdaq, as uncertainty is negative for the US indexes or for all the risk on assets. Okay, now due to the fundamental factors which we just discussed, like the central bank buying, de-dollarization, real yields declining, ETF inflows, geopolitical tensions, rate cuts pricing, tariff war or the trade war uncertainty, all of them, due to all of them, I remain bullish on gold. Okay, I am currently in long, and now talking a little bit about technicals and giving you a bit of a path. If we go on our weekly time frame first, we can see that last week was the highest ever weekly close in the history. Okay, we broke this kind of a resistance, kind of a range, and we broke out of it, broke out of all of these weeks, broke above this 50, broke and closed above, I would say, above this 5100 psychological area, and now we are trading near 5108 levels. This is a very bullish factor, and to be very honest, let's go a little bit back again to the 4 hour time frame. I am already in longs. As you can see, I shared this trade, not the trade, but obviously the trade idea ahead of time on my X Telegram, like on my social media, public Telegram channel. I shared them some macro updates, trade ideas, and all of that stuff there. So if you want to join that, you can join from the link given in the description. Okay, it's totally free, and I share a ton of knowledge there. So you can see that this was kind of a major psychological zone, supply zone, okay, and gold has kind of broke out from there. Overall, we are forming some type of a higher highs, higher lows pattern as well. So if next week you see some type of a like move higher and then a retest of it, then you can very well enter some buys, or even from here around the $5,000 psychological level as well. So this $5,100 level, around $5,100 level, and the $5,000 level, they remain beautiful psychological zones, and I may even look to add to my trade going into the next week if I see some type of this price action. And after that, you can very well, very easily target this $5,400 levels. And if the macro backdrop continues, if the uncertainty remains elevated, you can even target the previous all-time highs around the $5,600 levels. If we go a little bit back, and if we go back to our MRKT terminal and see the higher time frame target, here we can see MRKT also has its higher time frame target around the $5,400 levels. So if next week you see some buying opportunity, some type of a rate test of the zone, you can very well look for buys and target this, at least this $5,400 levels. If we go towards the day trading buyers and see the pullback level here, okay, the pullback level is quite far from here around the $4,900 levels, but I told you that if you see some type of a breaker retest next week, you can look for buys as long as the macro backdrop continues. By the way, the tool which I'm using, it is the market research tool, MRKTA terminal. It has a lot of other features as well, and if you want to test it out, I will drop its link in the description and you can check it out yourself. Now we have talked about gold. I will now be moving to the US indexes. Okay, SPX. The thing is that uh, the point is that I remain bullish on the US indexes. I'm clearing this first hand. When you talk about the macro perspective or the higher time frame perspective, I remain bullish on them. Okay, even the medium term perspective, I remain bullish on them. But when you talk about the short term perspective, the day trading type of perspective, I won't say that I'm bearish, but I'm not bullish at the same time. I am simply sidelined. I am neutral on them. I'm waiting for a profit taking move. I'm waiting for lower levels because at the current levels, I am not interested in trading them. Okay, why? Let me show you. If we go here on the swing trading bars and we see the price action, simply you can see that on the higher time frame we are in a very ugly range. Okay, we don't have any major factor which supports us enough to break past these all-time highs. We just go higher, test these all-time highs, come all the way back, go higher, come all the way back. Okay, so the thing is that from technical perspective, I don't like trading in such ranges, trading in such, you can say, trapped type of ranges, something like that. This is from a technical perspective. That's why I'm waiting for lower prices or maybe a new type of price action, a new type of market structure. Okay, this is the first thing. The second thing is that if we go to our day trading bias and we see the macro factors, here you can see tariff uncertainty, it can act as a bearish catalyst. Rising inflation, bearish catalyst, because it can decrease the expectations of rate cuts going into the future. The AI hype is kind of, you can say, messy right now. Okay, GDP miss signals that the economy is kind of contracting. Okay, this can act as a bearish catalyst. All of them, like the majority of the short term factors, okay, majority of the short term factors, they are bearish for gold. When you talk about from a fundamental perspective, not for gold, for the US indexes, they are bearish for them. Okay, the higher time frame still remains intact. The AI, when you talk about from a long term perspective, it is still active, it will still continue, the greed train will still continue, you will still be getting more rate cuts, and the uncertainty, the trade war uncertainty or the geopolitical uncertainty, it will eventually go away from a higher time frame perspective. That's why from a higher time frame perspective, I remain bullish on gold, sorry, on the SPX. But when you talk about from a day trading perspective, I am kind of sidelined, okay, due to the short-term fundamental factors simply not aligning with the higher time frame ones. And at the same time, if we see the sentiment from the AI investor sentiment survey, we can see that the retail has been continuously bullish, okay, consistently bullish for the past few weeks. Now this was a little bit of a bearish trading, not too much, like you have 34.5% bullish and the 36.9% bearish, not enough of a difference. But overall what I want to say is that retail has been consistently bullish on the US indexes for the past few weeks. Like you can say, you can put to put it in a perspective, if we come here and go on the chart of SPX, okay, since we started this range, retail has been continuously bullish. Okay, let's go on the daily time frame. Okay, so since we started this ugly range, I would even say that I would include like this in the range as well. Okay, since we started this ugly range, retail has been continuously bullish on the US indexes, and you can see from a higher time frame perspective, since then we have not seen any significant moves. All we did was create a range and trap buyers and trap sellers both at the same time. That's why I'm not interested in the US indexes right now from a short term perspective. I am looking for some profit taking moves, or at least if nothing, then I am not interested at least in trading in this range. Okay, maybe if we broke below this, then I may take some buys, some risky buys at the lows of this range, given that the fundamental factors at that time remain bullish. The higher time frame fundamental factors remain bullish for the SPX and for the Nasdaq at the same time. So if I see some type of a pullback like this at 6500, around $6,500 levels, then maybe I will look for possible longs on the US indexes. But at these levels, I don't think so that it is worth it to trade. Okay, so this was pretty much it about the US indexes. I just gave you my game plan. Now talking about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is kind of the same thing right now for me. Okay, like when you see the higher time frame, the intraday time frame, both are kind of very for the Bitcoin, but I want to talk a little bit about the structure first. Okay, the you can say like the sell off it in Bitcoin is mostly sentiment driven. Okay, the sell off in Bitcoin is mostly sentiment driven, I would say. And I shared a detailed analysis on it in my Telegram channel. If you want to see, then you can join my public Telegram channel, and I shared a detailed analysis on Bitcoin as well. Okay, and I like told and explained everything here, that what I'm looking for, how I think that this is simply a sentiment driven move, and all of that stuff. From a technical perspective, you can see that I am waiting for two things. Either I want a higher time frame shift in the market structure, or either I want to see more discounted prices. I want a test of these demand area, the strong demand area on the daily and even on the weekly time frame as well, around the 50 by 55k levels. Okay, so either I want more discounted prices, or either I want a shift in the macro structure. Okay, the thing is that we still don't have enough panic or enough fear among the retail about the Bitcoin. Okay, and also from a historical perspective, when you talk about the average drawdown in Bitcoin or the average bearish market in Bitcoin, let's say, let's go from here, this 2021 and 2023 bearish market, if we see the percentage move here of the profit taking. Okay, this was around a 76-77% pullback from the highs. Okay, around a 76 to 77% pullback from the highs, and this was around a 85% pullback from the highs. So the thing is that yes, on the higher time frame, from the macro perspective, Bitcoin is very bullish, but when you go in drawdowns, when you go in pullbacks, they can be very ugly. Obviously when you are seeing it on the weekly time frame, they just feel some type of debts and nothing more than that. But from a day trading perspective, or even from a swing trading perspective, or a medium term type of trading perspective, I would say that these drawdowns are very ugly. Like a 70% drawdown, man, it's too much. It's too much, especially if you bought at the highs. Okay, so it is too much. Okay, and right now if we are talking about the current drawdown, that what percentage of drawdown it is right now, we can see from the highs to the lows, it is only a 52% drawdown so far. So talking from a historical perspective, a historical pattern perspective, we need at least something around here, okay, around the 40k, or even maybe here around the 30k levels if you're talking from a historical perspective. Okay, and I believe if this tariff uncertainty, if this geopolitical type of uncertainty, if this all of this like uncertainties, if they continue, and at the same time if you don't see peak fear, peak panic in the crypto markets, then even a test of 30k is not out of the picture. Okay, it is not out of the box, it will become very likely. Okay, when you talk about from a like, I just want to make it clear for you, when you talk about from a like quite a long term perspective, from a you can say positional trading type of perspective, or even from a swing trading type of perspective, from a trading perspective, I like Bitcoin. I like bulls in Bitcoin. But when you talk about from an investment type of perspective, I don't think so that Bitcoin is a very good investment. Like, I have my own thoughts, my own opinion, so I don't recommend Bitcoin as an investment. But from a trading perspective, Bitcoin is very volatile. It can give some very trendy moves for a long period of time, and like overall, majority of the times, Bitcoin is a has a very trending nature. Okay, that's why from a trading perspective, I like to trade Bitcoin, but not as a day trader. Okay, I like to trade it as a swing trader. Okay, that's why I'm waiting for lower levels around the 50k level, or a higher time frame shift in the market structure. This rate cuts or the risk to Fed independence. Okay, now we are talking a little bit about the long-term fundamentals. Rate cuts or rate cuts into rising inflation or still elevated inflation, you can see. At the same time, you have quantitative easing. At the same time, institutions or the hedge funds, they have a little bit started to buy Bitcoin as well. You are seeing some bullish factors get a little bit re-alive now. But don't forget that in the short term, you still have geopolitical tensions and that trade war uncertainty. Okay, so this can keep the upside for Bitcoin a little bit capped. But when you're talking about from a higher time frame perspective, you have some macro factors which still support Bitcoin buys aggressively. All of them, they point towards the dollar debasement trade. Okay, means people selling the dollar and like moving away from the dollars, the investors, the selling the dollar and moving like simply away from the dollar and investing their money in something else, and that something else is going to be Bitcoin, and it is going to be the gold as well. That's why from a macro perspective, I still think that Bitcoin is not dead just yet. It's just a drawdown, just like we saw some in the past, and Bitcoin remains bullish, and I'm looking for buys as well, but I still need to see lower prices or a higher time frame shift in the structure. The long term, one thing I can make you assure is that the long term factors, the long term macro picture remains bullish for the Bitcoin. It's just a little bit sentimental hurt or a little bit uncertainties in the short term which are capping the upside for Bitcoin and which are pushing the prices lower. Okay, so this was, I believe, pretty much it for our analysis session. I am only interested like for the next week. For the next week, all I have is a trade planned on gold. Okay, I don't have trade planned on Bitcoin. I don't have any trade planned on the US indexes as well. For the US indexes, I'm simply waiting for a profit taking move for more lower passes for gold. I'm looking to enter into my current like add more to my current gold buys, but for that I'm waiting for a type of a retest of the $5,100 levels, 5050 something like that. Okay, and for Bitcoin, I'm waiting for even more lower passes, or I'm waiting for the shift in the higher time frame structure. Okay, so this is pretty much it, my plan for the next week. I will keep an eye on the macro factors, and if there's any update, if there's any change, I will update that in my public telegram group or on my X account as well. So if you have not joined there, you can join there as well. And also for my results, to track my results, to see my trades, the results of my trades and all of that stuff, you can go to my public telegram channel, and in the pinned messages you will see my past month's results, okay, as well. So you can verify my results as well. So this was pretty much it, and yeah, best of luck for the upcoming week.